buddy?
Yeah, I'm ready to roll, I think.
All right. We're at Blue Plate in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I guess this is an informal podcast, pop-up cast, but we'll consider it number 306 or 307.
I think it's 7 now.
Yeah, I think it's 307. But yeah, we're here in Chattanooga in front of the, actually out back of the expo. This is our usual pre-race breakfast spot, Blue Plate. It is about 10:20. You've got athletes coming in and around, getting their stuff checked in. A lot of hustle and bustle down here. I was down here earlier for the IronKids race, watching Hayden rip it up. But I got to say, if you've never attended an IronKids race, you should make it a priority to either attend one or have your little kids do it, because it is super fun. And you should do it. It's really, really enjoyable, and just watching parents and their kids do that and have fun is something pretty awesome to see. So I encourage everybody to do it.
Yeah, tell me why. What did you like about it? We just saw one of our pros walk by.
Yeah, we had I think that's Jim Lubinski, who was on the Tower 26 podcast with Jerry Rodriguez, a very good triathlon swim podcast. I'd give it a listen. They have a lot of good information. They use the snorkel a lot, which I'm up in the air about, but it's very good. They're both very nice guys. But yeah, I think Jim actually was 5th or 6th at Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, and he's back racing again. As I've found out, a lot of athletes are actually coming back here in Chattanooga using this as either the back end of a double or actually using this as the first of their double. So Matt Russell, he's using this as like the first leg of his double, where he's going to do Chattanooga and then do Kona. I was reading one of his interviews. He was saying that he gets a really good fitness boost after doing one Ironman and then 3 weeks later doing another. So he's doing that as a fitness boost. But yeah, there's actually a pretty solid pro field here in Chattanooga, which is actually not usually the case. It's usually either men only or women only, but this year there's both men's and women's field. I think Angela Nath is here, some really good male pros, and then some other solid female pros. So it's going to be a really interesting race. Yeah,
man, I'm excited actually to see that too. Yeah, give a shout out to Jim, man. He is a good dude, and got to know him a little bit back in when I did this race a long time ago, and he helped me out with a lot of stuff. So I want to give a shout out to him. And who do you think is going to win it, though, that pro field? You think Matt Russell?
You know, that's a good question. You never know this late in the year. I would probably put my money on Matt Russell to win. He's a good guy. He's an American. I wouldn't be shocked if Andrew Talansky did good either. He's a fairly new to the pro circuit. He's a former cyclist, but you never know about them. It's not really a cyclist-friendly course, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did really well. But the biggest factor, I think, is going to be obviously the heat. I got up and ran this morning between 5 and I got done with my run, and Mike was just getting up, letting Maddie go, and so I got done around 6:50 and I already ran 11 miles, and I was sweating profusely. The dew point was high. It was super muggy, and I think it's going to continue to get hotter and muggier on the course. And I think from what I understand and I've heard, they're actually going to have cooling buses on the bike course.
Yeah, that's what we heard. They're on the bike. And we wondered if they might have them on the run, too. It would take a lot to get me off my bike to get on a bus, you know?
And then it would take a lot for me to get off off the bus, right? Back on my bike.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, man, stopping on the bike is tough enough. Now, I get that. But it's so weird because sometimes you just won't feel as hot on the bike anyway, so it'll be kind of weird to think about people going, you know what, I'm hotter than I think. I need to get off and sit in that bus for a minute and then get back. I think it'd be a good idea, probably. Maybe. I don't even know. I'm torn on that.
On the bike, I'm not sure. On the run, I'm even more unsure. The thing is, though, is not like I was talking to another guy earlier, and he said that I was kind of wondering, like, why aren't you going to have cooling buses on the run? And Danny, who's a longtime podcast listener and friend, that he is actually he thought that they're going to have buses on the bike course because it would help them be able to bus people back in. They'd already be out there. They'd rather have people kind of have a struggle here closer to town than having to worry about people getting heat exhaustion or heat stroke 55 miles out of town. So that was actually pretty smart. But I kind of give like the analogy or maybe the comparison to like you're going to the Y, you're playing pickup ball with the guys, you play like 5 or 6 games in a row, and you're like, all right, guys, let's take a water break. And everybody grabs water, and then everybody sits down. It's game over.
Right.
No one wants to get back, and if they do, the games are like not nearly as like intense and competitive as they were before. So yeah, I think it's a good idea for safety. I do have to say this, and I'm not sure what the water temp is today. We had athletes that we talked to last night, and they said they heard the water temp was 80. And I'm not convinced. I think 82 or 83 is the cutoff to where they even allow a wetsuit optional wave. And I have to tell you, running this morning, I can't imagine it being safe to even have it as a wetsuit optional. I think it's just going to be incredibly unsafe. And if you're debating and you're up in the air, I would say, please do not wear your wetsuit. And also please do not pump up your tires to like 80 or 90 PSI when you check your bike in the day, because all they're going to do is pop overnight.
Yeah. And and you got done and you were dying, and it wasn't even sunny. There was no sun.
Whoa! I didn't say I was dying.
You were dying. You're like,
let's not get over dramatic with it. Actually, I definitely wasn't dying.
Yeah,
I felt
you looked
fine.
pretty good. I couldn't even tell you ran, to be honest.
It's because I felt pretty fresh.
Yeah, you did. But getting in a wetsuit at probably starts at 7:30, 8 to 8:15 is when you'd get in the water, maybe.
Yeah, because it doesn't start till 7:30 because it's pitch black here until like 7:15 every morning.
Yeah, and I don't know if the sun would be up enough to cause havoc. But my thought on those wetsuits and being hot, and it's not the water always. To me, it's the sun baking down on your wetsuit that makes me think that you're going to get the hottest.
It's going to be hot. So yeah, and again, like we talked about this earlier, it's just it's all about keeping your core temp as low as you can for as long as you can. But generally, we really want to do this podcast just to kind of give like an overall feeling of like the expo and stuff. And I was telling you, I can run downtown from my house, and I ran through like the finish line area in the expo around 5:30 this morning, and there was already volunteers and staff people like opening up the tents, getting things ready. So I think it's just interesting how much of like an almost 24-hour operation it is for them to put on these races, and I think sometimes we forget about what goes on to it as much as we want to harp on Ironman for the fees going up and races being so expensive. But if you think about how much goes into it, and I get it because a lot of them are volunteers and they don't get paid. There is a lot that goes into it, and I think a lot of it is safety and course and working with the city. But I think that again, thank you. That if you're checking in today, well, it's Saturday, so you can't check in today. But when you're taking your bike in, you're dropping off your gear bags. Like, definitely make sure you thank your volunteers. And let's just say one more thing. Like, just stop talking about the heat. Like, we know, dude, it's gonna be hot. Like, every single post is like, it's gonna be hot. Yes, we know it's gonna be hot, but now is the time to like start dialing in on controlling what you can control and being smart tomorrow, and just focusing on all the things that are gonna go right. And then how you're going to respond to them, and just understand you are who you are on race day, and all you can do is do the best you can. And if you can do that, then I think you're going to put yourself in a good position to be successful on Sunday.
Yeah. I know, because you think back, it's like there's always something at a race too, and it just sort of gets into your brain, and you can't let go of it, right? And this one's the heat. Last week when we were in Wisconsin, it was the rain or the cold. And at some point, you're right. You just have to accept that when you do these races, it's going to be something. And if you can let it go and not make it an excuse, and just get your head around how are you going to handle it the best you can, because even with this race, it's so difficult to think about recalibrating your goals before you even get out there. Once you show up and you have all these things going on in your mind, and you look out and it's going to be 96, 98 degrees, you just have to pull it back in your mind right out of the gate. So,
and I was talking to you about this while you were having breakfast, and I was having coffee. This is my second trip to the Blue Plate today. I came with Allie and Hayden before. We did a little pre-carb load before Hayden's 30-meter run. Is that I can I can't imagine athletes that are coming into this race being tired and overtrained. And I've talked about this last night to an athlete, and for this morning, is that, I never want to say that the athletes that we coach are ever undertrained, because they're not. But I always err on the side of really fit and really fresh. And to the extent that they don't do a lot of 130-mile rides, they don't do super long bricks, they don't spend 3.5 hours doing runs in like the scorching heat in the summertime, because I think there's only so many of those that you have. And I talk about like burning physical matches, but I think you also tend to burn mental and emotional matches as well. And I think that athletes that are thinking that they've already kind of lost, or that, oh, here we go again, I've got to spend another 14, 15 hours of my day in the heat, are already behind the 8-ball, and I think they're going to do worse than athletes who are coming into this event really, really fresh and crisp, having not had to go to that mental well of, here I got to go again, I got to get up on Sunday morning, I got to go out for another 3.5-hour run, or I got to go out and do another 120-mile bike with a 2-hour brick. I actually think those athletes are going to do worse. For a variety of reasons, but I think having to go to that mental well again I think it's going to be a negative versus what they would probably think is a positive. So if you're going to this race like that, you can definitely make it. Definitely reframe your mindset to being successful, and you've already done the work. But again, I think the athletes that are coming in this race are really, really fresh and crisp, are going to, even with minimal, if any, heat acclimation, are going to do better than athletes who are, like we always say, it's better to be 100% undertrained than 1% overtrained.
Yeah. And, better can be relative sometimes. It's like, how do you look at what's going to be better for you? Can you execute a race that is in the ballpark, or are you going to completely blow up? So how do you stay in the ballpark and then hope you got it at the end to pull it together? Because it's sort of like, that's what I mean by recalibrating your process going into it. Because if you have, and I've been there, where you have too high expectations, Louisville, the hot race for me is just the one I can always look back on. But I had too high hopes for that, and when they started unraveling, I just really went bad. I had a idea that maybe I would go mid to low 11s or something like that, and when I knew that was like just completely out of even 12 was out of the window, I mean, that was just really made for a bad day all around. It felt bad. It wasn't enjoyable, the whole 9 yards. So, like, what's 30 minutes, though? That was the thing. It was like I kept getting into this thing about, and you always talk about overall finishing spots and versus the field, and I guess I just had my comparison into last year's race as to what guys did the year before, and once that went away, I couldn't, I guess, juxtapose it in my head that the times might actually be slower or something like that. But it is what it is. Anyway, have you been in the Expo yet?
I haven't. I'm not an Expo guy.
I know you're not an Expo guy. That's why I asked.
It's my least favorite place. Not ever, but it's one of my least favorite places for sure.
Place. I mean,
it's like walking. It's like, listen. It is. I try to get in and out of athlete check-in as quickly as possible.
Right.
I don't even know when the last time I went to the mall was, or if people even still go to malls. Thanks to Amazon and online stuff. But I remember, like, when you would go to the mall, I would make like a roundabout detour around escalators hidden behind elevators behind Santa to avoid the pushy kiosk sales guy trying to sell me the spin helicopter or some scented candles or something that, like, because they're just like there's just too much. And that's the feeling that I get at the Expo sometimes, like at the Wisconsin one, you don't have a choice, because if you want to go anywhere, you have to walk through it, and if you're chirping at me and I'm not looking at you, I ain't buying it. And there was one of the guys like doing, like, I think it was as you would call the ray gun.
The ray guns,
or the Theragun. He was like yelling. He was like, "You got to try the Revolution." I'm like, no, I'm going to hard pass on that. If you tell me it's a revolutionary or it's the new greatest thing, I'm like, I'm probably going to hard pass on that. And so I see the Expo in general as a hard pass, because to be honest, they've kind of gone downhill. They used to hand out a lot of good free stuff in terms of like free samples and stuff. And I'm always in for a free snack, to be a freeloader. But no, I haven't been in. I got to say one more thing, though, because I don't have much to say about the Expo, but we all like to procrastinate on doing things we don't like. You know, like when you're like, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm going to do it first. So on Sunday, if you can procrastinate blowing up as long as possible, you're going to do well. Like every decision you make should be centered around procrastinating the fact that at some point, more than likely during the day, you're going to slow down significantly based on where you'd like to be. You're going to go from, so let's just give an example. You're going to go from like a 9 to like a 12. If you can procrastinate that to mile 20 and only lose that for 6 miles, which is about 18 minutes, versus doing it at mile 8, which is going to be around, 45 minutes, it's a significant difference. So, definitely procrastinate that. I don't want to call it a blow up, but say, hey, on your left. But I would definitely procrastinate that slowdown that is going to happen. And again, that's going to be with pacing, and it's going to start before you even get in the water. It's starting today with hydration. And again, like tomorrow is not even as much about fitness as it is nutrition and pacing. But yeah, going back to the expo. Sorry guys, I just don't have much to say about the expo. I just don't like them.
I thought we were just kind of trying to do a few observations of the surroundings. We are right next to the expo here in Ironman
That's a lie.
Village.
I have been around the village. I do have to say
they have the water bottles here.
I
That's
have
the whole
walked by the same zip booth at every single race I've ever been at, and the exact same guy is working on bikes. And so if you think about that, if that same guy is doing every single Ironman Expo event there is in the U.S., how insanely busy they are. Like I think obviously like if they do it, they love their job. But I think like for the people that do these like continuously, like how much stress and travel that is ultimately to give back and do things like that. I think like when you take your bike, I think the biggest award has to go out to like the bike tech guys Ironman week, because I can't imagine the level of patience those guys have to have for athletes who are like, hey, you know what? I'm going to need new tubes, new tires, new valve extenders. How about some new bar tape? And you know what? Matter of fact, let me just take 2 aero helmets and a new set of aero bars. And they're like, oh, my God, sure. And then basically.
That would be good stories to hear from these guys.
And I understand. Like they're here to do a good job.
Girls.
Like, can you imagine only getting one shot to get one thing right? Like, can you imagine like how many athletes take their bikes back to their local bike shop repetitively because things just aren't right? Their rear derailleur's clicking, something's just not right. The tire's not true. So these guys get one shot, and then you go race and you blame them because your race went to crap. Listen, you only have yourself to blame for waiting till race week. And one little creak in your bike doesn't mean there's a crack in your bottom bracket and your bike's going to explode at mile 80 while you're bombing a downhill at 45.
Oh, I know, man.
It's just like take a breather, train, race with the horse you trained on and ride with the horse you're ready to ride on. And
it's funny you bring that up because I had that at Wisconsin. I was torn between going in and just leaving it be because it didn't seem to be bothering anything on my riding the last couple days. Or a week maybe, and I took it into my guy. He couldn't really fix it, or it was hard to tell if you didn't ride it. So he's like, "Nah, man, it seems fine." So I just left it, and it was fine. Or maybe that's why I was so slow out there.
We'll blame it on the bike guy. We'll blame it on the bike guy. But no, I mean, like as much as I don't like the expo, I do like the energy and the vibe that they always have around what I would call like the Ironman Village. It's excitement. You see everything. You see fear. You see excitement. You see nerves.
The faces, man.
You see. I think one of the coolest things are like, I think watching the athletes are interesting too because you can tell they're just not present. They're here with you, but they're staring like a hole right through you because their mind is like, is my gear bag right? Do I have everything I need? What about that hill? I wonder if it's going to be what's illegal. What's the water temp? Have you checked the weather yet? I think it's going to be like 95 with a heat index of like 117 at 1:33 p.m. And so I think that, I think watching the athletes is fun too, but I think it's also incredibly fun to watch the family. Like the friends of the spouses and the kids, because they're just like in awe. They're like, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I was talking to one of our athletes, Tom Stewart, I believe it was Tom, and he just did Ironman Wisconsin. He was saying that his family was there and a friend. He was like, yeah, I think either his dad or his wife or somebody was going to start doing triathlon because they came to Madison and saw the event. And so I think that, I think we always kind of forget that all the people that you're seeing around these events and these expos and the athlete village or whatever, like they're also more than likely, hopefully, going to be future participants, and the things that we do and the things that we say impact them.
Yeah.
Sending out positive vibes and not letting our own kind of race week, you're famous for this, race week grumpiness. And I got called out last night that I'm a super nervous, grumpy race morning guy, which that's fair. I get nervous for my athletes. But yeah, it is. It's such a mixture and like a melting pot of emotions and feels for both, the athletes and the family and the support crew and like the Sherpas alike.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. We should do a little test, little study where we meet maybe 5 or 6 random people and kind of gauge if they're present or not, and then just find out how they did in the race later. Or you think that's boring? Something. Wait,
we could do that.
I mean,
I'll let you handle that.
I'll probably have to handle that one.
It's one of your theorist papers.
Yeah, I have 6 subjects in my study.
Yeah, all of 6.
The margin of error is...
Yeah, that's right. We did 6, and 4 of the 6...
We're friends.
So now we have a comprehensive study that, compression socks work. I can say there are a lot of compression socks out.
Are there?
There are a lot of compression socks out today. I still have no idea why, but there are a lot of compression socks out. I think it's 10:45, so I think you can actually start checking your bike in. So people will be checking their bikes, putting their gear bags into place, and then this I will have to say, as much of there is to do with checking your bike in and getting stuff done. One of the best things is like not having to deal with your bike on race morning and your other gear and just walking down at the start with like your special needs bags and that's it. Having said that, there is nothing worse, and we talked about this before, than picking up your bike later on that day after doing an Ironman. It is absolutely the worst thing in the world. And we are still working on a C26 bike concierge service that will bring your bike back to your hotel room with cookies.
We are, huh?
Yeah, I'm still working on that. We'll have somebody make the cookies. I'm not sure who, but all in all, I mean, I think, if you're racing, because I think we'll have this up today, hopefully. If you're racing, just have fun. Enjoy yourself. Remember what you did, and the work you've done is, you might not think it's going to be fully reflected on, your fitness and the times for tomorrow, but no matter what you're racing, Augusta's the same way it's hot. Maryland, I think they're racing right now, or they are racing right now. And just the 2 things you can control, your effort and execution. You can do both those things and be patient, then I think you're going to have a much better day than if you were thinking about other things.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's our thing, man. That's your thing for sure. And, I think that effort piece is really important, obviously, once you get out there. But, it's almost like before the race, we need you to back off that effort as much as possible. It's like not let it take over, and sort of being bearing down on the race because it's so damn long, man. And it always fools you. You always get to the river or the lake or whatever, or the ocean in the morning, and you think, all right, man, the race is on. The race is on. And then you get in that water, and it's just like some people flip a different switch, and they just go outside of themselves. And, we talk about execution. Take your time. Do things right, because it really is a slow. It's such a weird concept to think about when you hear about these guys that say their game slows down for them, and saying how Ironman can slow down for you. Is that sort of a thing you want think about, because you're going kind of slow anyway? But is it? If you're out, football players say it all the time, the game slows down and they can see plays develop and they know what they're doing. They go the right places and do all the right things, and that's when they get better. It's not about talent or exploding on the field. Sometimes they make it worse because they run by plays. So translate when the race slows down for me.
No, I think that's a good one. Like when you can anticipate things happening and you already have the answers ready.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of triathlon's long distance version of slowing things down. It's like I don't know the exact phrase, but I think it's like, be in a hurry, don't be in a rush. I think a lot of people try to rush through an Ironman or even a 70.3, which kind of seems odd because of how long the distance is. But when it comes down to decision making, I think that's what makes you feel like you're just kind of in the zone. Like the guy I was talking to earlier about whose dad I think is going to start doing triathlon. He said that I feel like I was kind of in a time warp on the marathon. He was like, I was just in cruise control. It was kind of like this black hole. Everything kind of like slowed down for me. And he had a great run split. So I do think that makes sense in terms of. I think it's just awareness, and I think a huge thing though is I think if things are slowing down for you, you're not panicking. And you have a very, very good grasp or control of your emotions.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I love how you put that because when I'm on the bike, for example, I'm always looking ahead. People that have nerves on the bike and things like that, I feel like they're the ones that are just sort of looking in their little circle right around their bike, and they're worried that things are going to pop up. It's too late. You got to kind of look ahead. You look ahead 100 feet, 100 yards or whatever. What's going up ahead of you, for example? That's, I think, how things slow down on the bike for you. And to your point, yeah, it's like what's coming on. You're ahead of the game, and the course isn't controlling you. You're controlling the course in a way.
Yeah, you just have to have a very high level of awareness. Awareness of yourself, awareness of how you're feeling, awareness of the conditions, awareness of your execution, awareness of your pacing, awareness of your fueling and how you're going to be, going down the road. Like so, and other people. You just have to be aware of the course and the demands, and you can't just be in yourself all the time. It is a single, athlete race in terms of you're just really racing against yourself first and foremost before you're racing against others. But I think it comes down to like just having a whole lot of awareness, and that's when things like tend to slow down.
Yeah, ultimately it's the ultimate case of being in the moment, sort of being in the moment, but being ahead of the moment at the same time. Can we do that? I don't know. That's sort of quantum.
It's yeah. I think somebody can. If you can figure that out, let us know after this race.
Yeah. So yeah, like I echo what Robbie says. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck today if you're out there. And
we'll be out there cheering in C26 gear. Mike will have on a big bright yellow shirt. I think you're rocking the spectator shirt. I'll probably be wearing my usual regular C26 small logo on the front shirt. But I'll have
tank top.
No, definitely not rocking a tank top. I'll definitely have the beard and the hat though. Handing out high fives. Last thing, major request: if you're going to give me a high five, please wipe your hands off of all Vaseline and chamois cream, because in Wisconsin I got absolutely splattered with what I would consider basic like nut gel.
It's too hot for you to wear gloves, man. You can't be wearing gloves.
I can't be rocking gloves. But yeah, best of luck again. If this is your first time listening, we appreciate it. Have fun. Somebody's calling me. Michael's calling me. But so we'll wrap it up. But yeah, if it's first time listening, we appreciate it. Give us a listen on other 306 podcasts. Download those. You can always visit crushingiron.com for the rest of the things we do. And we'll check you back on Monday.
That sounds good, buddy. Had a good time.
See you, dude.
Bye-bye.